Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Right Path Podcast, where being an author, an actual author, still matters. Folks, this is the podcast that's for authors. It's about authors. It's done by an author, where we share our journeys, we explore our creativity, and most importantly, we examine that why behind it all. Our guest today is all about doing that. Absolutely wonderful lady on with us today who is putting together an incredible series. I can't wait to hear about this whole thing. The She's an author, she's a mom, she's a violinist, which I hope we get to hear a little bit about too. I don't get to talk to too many people who are violinists, so that's awesome. And she's the author of her first novel, Lost, the Lost City of Incan Gold, and the story behind it is going to blow you away. So please welcome to our show, Brigid Kennedy. How are you doing today, Brigid?
Oh, it is a good day. Thank you so much for having me.
It's absolutely my pleasure. You have just been a bolt of sunshine since you came on the Zoom call today. I love your attitude towards all this and where your heart is. I'm going to just kind of throw it to you. Tell us a little bit about, Brigid Kennedy and, how all of this stuff got started.
Oh my goodness. It has been a journey, a 3-year journey so far. And it all started at 2 a.m. and I was sound asleep and my grandmother came to me. And it wasn't some vague impression of her or a foggy image, but it was her presence, her voice, her face, and she got right down to the point like she always does. And she said, "Write the book, write our story." And I sat up in the dark and I thought about what she just asked me to do. And I knew the story. My great grandfather, Irish treasure hunter, braved the open sea, sailed across the Atlantic, going to Peru in search of the lost city of Incan gold. And this story has been told around the family table, all of the holidays and special occasions. And sometimes pictures come out and but they're not properly labeled. And then someone would talk about another name, but they're not quite sure if that was the exact name that was there in that story. And I felt it. I felt it from my grandmother that this history of our family was slowly slipping away, generation by generation. And what she asked me to do was to write it, to preserve it. The only problem was I'm a violinist. Never written a novel in my whole life.
And that part blew me away. You were not an existing writer. This just literally came
No.
out of the blue.
Yes, yes. So the learning curve on that was huge. But I woke up right then and there. I put on a big pot of coffee and the family history part, like I could get down, right? There's like genealogy, you're writing the names, you're writing the dates, the places, right? That's all good and fun. But then as I started writing it, I realized where our story stopped. And that is after my great grandfather came to Peru, and you land in the port of Lima, and then to go to the Peruvian Amazon, you have to cross through a little town called Arequipa. And that's where he met my great grandmother, Yadosha, at her hacienda. They fell in love. They had this tremendous love story that I wrote out in the novellas, Untold, the companion series Lost. And they fell in love, they had kids, and he kept going on these expeditions trying to find his quest, the lost city of Incan gold. Very famous, legendary place. And on his last expedition, he never returned from the Amazon. And that's where our family story stopped because our family kind of crumbled apart. And that's where the downward spiral started happening, and it left this huge hole in our heart, this question, what happened to him?
Okay. Wow.
And and so that's where I found my story. My story picks up where the kids get old enough. They want to close this chapter in their book, finally come to terms with what happened to their dad. And they find his notes and a hand sketch version of the map that he was seeking. And they're like, let's go into the Amazons and try to find what happened to dad. And as soon as they cross into the magical borders, that's where my fantasy story begins. And I thought I was writing a fantasy story. Um, and it only was until recently, with other podcasts and with connecting to other authors, that I found that it wasn't a fantasy story. It was a reclamation. It was a healing, because what I actually ended up doing was I wrote the story of the connection of the family moving and growing and becoming strong. I'm about to cry about it. and and it healed so many of my family members reading past that point where our history did stop, and now bringing everything connecting together at the end. It was just a beautiful thing that I never expected to do.
Do you think maybe that's why you were called to do this in the first place?
Rory, that is a very good point.
Wow.
I do believe so.
Wow. I mean, good for you, and I think that's wonderful. That's an incredible aspect of the story. The
Yeah.
this situation then, this sort of need for closure about your missing relative. This was present, it sounds like, and talked about and very open in the family prior to this
Yes.
revelation for you.
Yes. Yes. And
Wow.
and it was that big unknown, right? We don't know what he found in the Amazon. We don't know what kept him from coming back home. And so what I did is I just imagined the most amazing story that I could to put that all together.
Wow. And you have no idea where that's coming from either, right?
You know, I do believe my grandmother is smiling down on me right now because, as our wise elders always do, they know more than they let on.
Right. That's amazing. That's what I mean. Even just reading this, as I was, going over the information that, is in your bio and stuff, I said, this is already an incredible story. I haven't even heard it yet, but I could just tell there was a lot more behind it.
Tell.
There was more behind it. I was like, okay, there's a lot more going on here than just meets the eye. So, you get this, this vision, comes to you. You get this task bestowed upon you. You embrace it immediately, and then you have to literally become a writer and come up with a process. And how am I going to get this done? And so your first step is I'm going to get some coffee, which frankly, every good story starts with a big pot of coffee. Way to go. And then you say, all right, I'm going to, and how'd you begin?
Well, the second part of that need to get it done was my daughter, teenager, 12, 13 at the time. And I felt like she was old enough now to really understand her ancestries and to dive into her roots. And she was old enough to understand what that means as a family member, to understand where you came from. And our family story is tremendous. It is a story of adventures. It is a story of love. It is a story of treasure hunters. And in fact, so I talk about my great grandfather, Robert Patrick Kennedy. Well, his son, Robbie, is my other main protagonist in my story. In true history here, he continued the treasure hunting legacy in our family, and he would guide tourists through the Amazons on treasure hunts. And he actually found the famed gold Incan mask. And to this day, it's sitting in the Gold Museum of Lima, Peru. And it's just an amazing part that some treasures can be found. And I wanted my daughter to know of her history, her family, because if she ever feels the need to go on a quest and to adventure, I want her to know that that's her ancestors calling her.
Wow.
So that next part of writing that story um, was almost a necessity, a quest of my own to get that to my daughter so that she can understand her true roots.
Nice. So I mean, your why is laid out for you, really well
My
from the
why.
from the get-go.
Yeah.
It sounds like, yeah, wonderful. How long did it take you?
So my first book took me 3 years, and I want to give a huge shout out to my high school English teacher because that whole year she made us focus on outlines, 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 outlines. Everything was outlines. So we got graded on our outline for whatever we were reading or writing, and she made us do it in such detail. And I did not follow that advice on my first book because I was just writing. I didn't really know that it was going to turn into a fantasy book. I thought it was like just writing down the names and the dates and trying to get the information to my daughter. And as I was writing my family, they became actual characters in my head, having conversations with each other, with me. I'm talking to them, and it became this whole thing. And once my main protagonist came on page, my grandmother is Catalina, so I named her Cat. And once she came onto page, I couldn't stop her. She just took this story into a whole new direction on that. And I was like, what do you call it? Just going where the story took me, writer. Like,
Yeah.
like coming as it like just writing it as it comes into my head, just flowing wherever.
Yeah.
And it took me 3 years because I went this way and I went that way, and I had to go back and add things in as I discovered, oh, I want to add this new character or or new thing, and I would have to keep going back and like retying it in, and it just took forever. So then on my second book, Forgotten, I used the outline that my English teacher so diligently taught us. And it took me 3 months to write and finish that book. And then on my third full novel, which is Stolen, it took me 3 weeks. And I could not believe how fast that book came out because I realized that the outline was a very helpful thing. And then I did a super detailed outline, almost to per paragraph, per sentence. And so then I knew exactly where to go. So I didn't have to do all the uh uh threading back through the story, backtracking and
Yeah.
stuff. I just took it, as the outline showed me. So yeah, outlines do work.
Good advice for everybody. Go back to the old outline that we all learned back in school.
Oh
Yep.
yeah. Yeah.
But so the first one was really sort of finding yourself then, because every one of them
It
after
does.
that got better and better because you were refining your process and you were, into the flow, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you do have another one coming. I mean, is that going to be done in like 5 days? What do we think?
So I don't know, maybe this summer I will tackle into that. It is a huge learning curve after you get your first after your first draft of your first book, right? Because when you have a first draft, that's not the end. Then it comes the editing, right? And then it comes giving your precious book to family members, friends, right? And arc readers, and letting and standing before them and letting them judge you
Yep.
and
Oh,
judge your book, right? And when they say, I don't like this line, or I don't like your main character, you're like, oh, kill me, right? So then that whole process. But then once you actually have a book that everybody can follow, everybody feels good about, your journey just started, because this is where the publishing side, the choosing what you're going to do to get the book into the hands of people around the world, um, and then marketing. That's when you got to come up with, your author website and your email and all your socials. And I had none of that. I was on Facebook. I'm Gen X, right? I was on Facebook, but TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Threads. I'm like, what? So all these platforms I had to build from scratch, and I quickly learned what they were and what you had to do: create content and create buzz around your name and try to push that content as far as you can and learn the algorithms.
Hmm.
Um, that was nothing, and my grandma did not tell me about that part. So that was a huge learning curve. And I think that's kind of what kept me so far from writing my book for the grand finale.
Hmm.
But now that I got all my socials working and grooving, and I found what I like about marketing and promoting, and I found what I don't like about marketing and all that. Now I think I'm in a much better place to actually start writing again.
Wow. All right. Goodness gracious. I mean, you covered so much right there. I love that because we went into so many different areas of what has to happen to get a book out, and I think so many people underestimate that.
Oh my gosh.
Is that how you felt when you got into it the first time? Like I had no idea all of this was involved.
I really had no idea. I didn't know how many hours of the day it takes out of your regular day. Now remember, I'm a mom, a wife. I have my own business. I'm a professional violinist in symphonies with my lessons and in teaching youth orchestras. And life is busy already. And then I tacked on writing a book, and then three more with the novellas. And then I'm tacking on trying to do all the marketing and the content creating and figuring out my hashtags and like and subscribes and it whew, I have a very busy day every day. It's if I don't know, it's kind of like you're standing at the base of a huge mountain, right? And it just looks so daunting, like, and you think, I'm never going to get to that summit, right? I It's just too much. But man, all you got to do is just take that first step, and then just the next one, right? And just I'm just chipping down at that mountain every single day.
That's great. I love that. Let me ask you a little bit about the character part of this because it's a fictional book, technically, because you're
Technically.
making the story up, or at least it's coming to you from somewhere. So it's not nonfiction, even though it's based on these true life events and people, right? Okay.
Yes, yes.
So
Um, yeah. Oh, so my characters, I actually, all my characters are my family members.
that's what I was going to ask you, if they're based on people or if you made somebody else up. So tell
They
us
they
tell us exactly
are.
who's in there then, because I know we have Cat slash Catalina, and that's Grandma.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have Kat and Robbie. Okay. So the family tree is my great grandfather, Robert Patrick Kennedy, marries Eudocia Rodriguez. True history, had two children: Catalina, which is my grandma, and Robbie, okay, or Robert the second, nicknamed Robbie. Okay. And so in my story, I actually made a family sibling band of five siblings. So the other siblings and all the other stars characters in there all come from my mother and all of her siblings. So they had seven. So I had lots of personalities and lots of names to pull through. So even the carriage driver, even the guide that they hire first to go into the Amazons, they weren't just a bunch of kids who just ran into they planned it. They planned it. Kat has a very strategic mind, and she can look at problems, and she can find solutions like that in seconds and make everything seem easy. And so she planned all the tools, all the food, hiring the guide, like what the time of the year, like everything. And they get like 24 hours into the jungle and everything turns upside down. And the guide's gone and they're on their own. And that's where, boom, it just explodes. But yeah, so all the characters are from all my family names. And I just had a blast writing them. And the one of the main characters that everybody loves so much is my mom, Maria, that I write in. But she's not any, she has Maria's strength and mind and entrepreneurship skills, but the way she talks and holds herself and everything, it's not like her. And so I wanted to make sure that my mom was okay. But with me using her name as one of the characters, even though it wasn't her personality, right? But the point and the character arc and the strength, everybody falls in love with. And so did my mom. So I'm so glad that they were able to see past these characters, because you gotta build a little quirkiness and a little spiciness, right, into certain characters, so they can establish an arc and grow from all of that. But a main twist in my book, and I have not mentioned this, so when my great grandfather left Ireland, he brought his younger brother John with him, 1 year younger. And when they got to Arequipa, my great grandfather got deadly injured. And so he couldn't go into the Amazons right away. So the younger brother, John, went into the Amazons, met up with the local tribes just to see like their map and everything holds water. And he actually fell in love with a tribal lady. And he decided to stay in the Amazons with her at the tribe. They got married and they had raised 2 daughters in the heart of the rainforest. All true, all true. So it was my huge privilege to be able to bring that side of the story in. And those 2 daughters, women, Amazon warriors, I mean, tremendous strength, just adds a whole nother dynamic. So now my band of 5 siblings, right, with my 2 parents, and now we're adding John, Paka, Emily, and Aaron into the mix, and their tribe members. So I got some very hot and steamy BBS for us ladies, hot jungle warriors that only wear loincloths, nice. And so I added all these characters in, but by the time I'm all said and done, like in my book 3, I have 21 characters. 21 characters that all need their own story arc, their own conclusion, their own hero moment, their own rock bottom moments, right? To really feel the heart behind all of that. And so that was huge. Learning my book 3, I already knew the outline process. I already knew how to kind of write, but that presented a new challenge for me. How do I balance all 21 characters in one book? And one book was huge.
I love that. Since they're all based on family members in some way,
Mhm.
did you go out and tell all these people, hey, this is your character, this is who I based you on, or did you kind of wait to see if they found themselves in the writing? I'm just curious how you approached that.
The second one. So
Something told me that's how you went. What
my
was
mom,
that
of
like?
course. Well, my book just launched 2 months ago.
Uh-huh.
So family members are getting it into their hands, but I
Okay.
think they are honored that they got into the book, right? Even though it's not their personality or what their job was or anything, but just that it's our history, right? It's our family Kennedy name and the Rodriguez name, and they were their first name, right? They are in that legacy now.
Wonderful. I love that. So the jury's still out with a few folks, then it sounds like. Maybe you haven't heard from everybody who's in the book.
Actually, so my Uncle John, right? He went and lived in the Amazon. There's no high-speed internet. And so when my grandfather never came out of the Amazon, that's it. That's all the communication that we had, and it was gone. His parents in Ireland, address, everything gone. The connection and how to find Uncle John in the Amazon gone. So not only did my great grandfather go missing and left a hole in the heart, but that whole side of the family, I mean, it just crumbled as soon as he vanished. And so being able to bring that story and then connecting Uncle John and his daughters with the all the siblings, right? And building and keep going on this journey with them was just a huge healing for everyone.
Nice.
So Uncle John and his daughters, I don't know how to connect with them still to this day. So I know maybe there's a Barnes and Nobles or a Half Price Books near the border of Amazon that they could swing by and grab and then discover, oh, this story is about us. Well, one day. But I did recently travel to Ireland and to walk the steps of my ancestors in there, and I do want to go back to Peru. So maybe on a book tour, I go back to Peru and maybe I'll just take a couple copies and just go into the jungles and try to deliver them by hand.
Okay, so the problem is that Amazon doesn't deliver to the Amazon, so you're gonna have to take it by foot.
Yes.
All right, I had to do that one. I'm sorry. That was such an
I'm
easy
so
joke.
glad you did. Okay, I'm going to use that. I am going to
All
steal
yours.
that.
All yours. I'm curious when it comes to the characters, and I appreciate you, sharing all this about what you put into the book. The Your main character, Catalina Kennedy, based on your grandmother, of course. I mean, she's an incredibly strong female protagonist. She's a warrior, you know.
Yes.
And so, I mean, she's the one who's sort of leading the way in your book out there. Is that based on how your grandmother was? Is that,
Oh my
really
gosh.
similar to her, or I'm just curious.
And it all comes back down to that dream when your loved one ancestors look at you in that certain particular way, right? I wasn't going to be the one to tell Catalina Kennedy no, that I wasn't going to obey her, right? I better get to it before that shoe or broom comes after me in the middle of the night. um, but uh, but yeah, she was a very strong person, right? But I'm also a big reader. I love fantasy. I love historical fiction. I'm a big reader. And I kind of wanted an older main female character. And so Kat in the story is 24. She has her life together. She knows what she wants to be. She passed her warrior training and she is now a master of blades by the Kennedy clan. And she is a strong person. And I wanted to bring that to the fantasy readers. I didn't want another teenager who's lost in what she's trying to do, right? Or still trying to find herself. I wanted somebody that already knew exactly what they were doing and it was ready to take us on this adventure ride.
Nice, nice. Well, I love that. I think that may have set you up pretty well, actually, for this other search you're doing, which you alluded to earlier. And I think we may have touched base on it in the pre-interview, but you self-published this book, your first one. And you
Yes.
have other books that
Yes.
are written that you're sort of shopping, and you're looking for a literary agent at this point, or you have an agent, you're looking for a publisher. Where are we with that?
Yeah, right. Yeah. I have not gotten that elusive send me the next 50 pages, send me the
Ah,
next full manuscript. I haven't gotten past the elevator pitch yet that level, right? So I'm still going, but my June next month, just a few more days, that's when I'm gonna heavily start searching for a literary agent because this process of being an indie writer and doing it all by yourself and getting your book into the shelves of local bookstores, and it is an extremely tough process. Especially, I was not in the publishing book writing uh I don't have my college degree in that. I didn't have my college even in business. I had it in music. I write music notes all day long, but to write a novel and to know what to do with it, that's new information to me.
Right.
So I think now that I've tried to do the indie side of things, I see how important it is to have a cheerleader in your corner, and to have a little bit more of that wiser knowledge of how to navigate this publishing world. I think I really do need that extra support. So I am going to try to find a literary agent and hopefully to get into a big publishing house. But my, my main dream, and this is my southern side coming out of me because I'm a southern girl born and raised in Houston, Texas, but to get on Reese Witherspoon's book club of the month.
Ah,
Oh my gosh, if I could get into her book club, I would be such a happy camper. And then also if Netflix, if a screenwriter just comes across my path one day, I would I would be so tickled pink. But that's my future dreams. The what if, the someday that might happen.
gotcha. I feel like I'm watching an episode of Younger right now, if you know that show from Netflix. Is that
Wait,
one
wait,
that you've
wait,
seen?
wait.
It's the whole literary
I,
thing, and she's pretending to be younger, and it's all about what you just said,
Yes,
even the Reese part.
yes. Oh,
I was like, wow.
I did love that. I actually watched that while I was in my 3 year and starting to do the marketing side and the pub, and that's when I was starting getting all my rejections,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, they make it seem so easy on TV to get this big book deal.
Absolutely. Right.
Right? Oh, look, here's a pile sitting on a table. Oh, this book is perfect. Let's give them an offer. Right? That's not people. That is not how that goes
It's
down.
not how it
I can
works.
attest. I can attest to that.
I love that. Okay. I mean, honestly, like I said, I think you're set up very well for it. I've talked to several literary agents, and they've told me point blank that they're only looking for, strong female protagonists right now. They love a little history, angle to it. This entire thing you're talking about, it seems like you're going to be set up for it. So I wish you a lot of luck. Okay. All right, little hitch in the recording there, folks, but we're all back because we don't edit on any of my podcasts, guys, because this is the best stuff right here. But what I was just saying to Brigid is, the literary agents I've talked to, they really are set up. They are looking for this exact type of thing where they're looking for a strong female lead. Um, the historical fiction is a big aspect, fantasy type, work. They love it. I think you're set up very well for this, So as you look for it, I mean, I really hope you find what you're looking for.
I do too, and I hope I find it next month in June. That exact literary agent that you're talking about, because I haven't discovered them yet. But I will pray and I will manifest this mythological creature you speak of a literary agent saying yes. I will. I'll manifest it.
There we go. There we go. In looking for a publisher, with all the things that you've learned in self-publishing, what is it that you'd love for a publisher to either help with or maybe take off your plate, by going with a publisher? What's your goal there?
Um, to help me get the word out in a broader term. Um, it does feel like social media, we just have those 15 seconds and it's kind of like shouting into the void. Hey, I'm here. I have a really great book. Come read it. And it just feels like you can only get like hit so many people, right? That algorithm only can take you so far. And sometimes my algorithms take me over 2,000 views, and sometimes I check it the next day and I'm just like 7. I'm like, well, that's not good. Right. So it's like a hit or miss. And then TikTok could be like really popular with something I put out there. And then Instagram completely opposite. So the different platforms really reach different people and in their age span as well and interests. So it's still that huge learning curve. So I'm hoping that a publishing house could help me reach a broader uh, audience to go further in announcing that my book is in the world and ready to be read.
Gotcha. All right. Okay. Wonderful. I just wanted to kind of find out where you were, but that makes sense. So congratulations on the self-publishing, first of all, because you are in fact a published author now, which so many people
Yes,
are aspiring to be.
it
There's
is
the
here.
book.
I can hold it. I can smell the pages. It is a wonderful thing to be able to hold your book from just seeing it on the screen, typed in the screen, to be able to flip the pages and feel it.
Yeah.
It's like it's finally here. It has arrived. It's all your hard work. You can point to it and say, my dream is this. This is my hard work. This was my 3 years. All right. There's tangible.
Gotcha. I love that. And it's a good looking book. Where'd you go to get
Thank
the
you.
artwork, if you don't mind me asking? It
Yeah,
looks
so
beautiful.
I had a friend do all my sketches of Cat on all my covers, and
Mhm.
even the covers, you can see the progress that she takes in her emotional and strength journey
Mm.
through the books. And then I have my actual family, right? My actual family talisman that I wear around my neck every day. And so we were able to digitally put that in so that she is wearing it as well. And then we had to use upscale app to up the
Yeah.
pixels for printing,
Mhm.
right? So then we had to up that. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well, it's beautiful. Yeah, and so
Thank
folks who are
you.
watching on video, you get to see it. But if you're listening on audio, you're gonna have to look us up. We'll tell,
Yeah.
we'll let you find out all about it. Now, Bridget, the first one, the Lost City of Ink and Gold, that's out now, and that's the one that we're talking about. The next one to come out is a novella to Lost called Untold: 15 Years of Adventures. Right? You want to just briefly tell us about that in the
Yes.
time we have left? Let's go over what you have coming up.
Yes, yes. So when I first wrote my book, I wrote it at 145,000 words, which I did not know it was too big for a first debut thing or even fantasy, right? And I'm just like, oh, I'm going to have to cut that down. So I removed all of my flashback stories of the kids, their background, their when they first arrived in Ireland, all their treasure hunts and everything. And I pulled all of those stories out of Lost. So now Lost just is a present timeline that runs super fast. And so Untold is all of the nitty gritties behind the character development. Some people like to dive in a little bit deeper to each character. So that book allows them to do that. So Untold is the untold stories between the chapters of Lost. And then, of course, I have my book 2, Forgotten, which is all about the vibe is treasure hunting, pirates, stranded isles, stuff like that. And then my book 3, they go back to Ireland, and it's the big battle of Ireland. So that's where all 21 of my characters come together, and they all unify the different clans of Ireland, and they all stand up to the evil that is present there. And then, of course, my book 4, fully drafted, but have not wrote it out yet. But it is the conclusion that will satisfy every single reader through a series, right? So it is the conclusion that everybody wants and hopes for it.
Wonderful. I can't wait to see these coming out. Do you have an idea of when you want to try to release them? I know if you sign with a
Yeah,
publisher, it's going to be up to them in a lot of ways. But in a perfect
yeah.
world, when would you like to put these out? In what kind of sequence?
So the novellas, I would like to go ahead and put that out in the next like 2 months to get
Okay.
that out into the world. But since I am trying with Forgotten and Stolen to get into a publishing house, it would be up to them to release those books.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
if I have no luck, if I have no luck with getting the mystical, magical, yes, literary agent to find me, then I will just put them out on my own.
Nice. Good for you. Well, and you know how to do that now. So you've the
I know
learning
how to do
curve's a
that.
lot easier. Yeah, there you go. Bridget, I love this, and it's such a fantastic story behind all the books. You've done so much work, and I love your heart behind all of it too. I mean, you can tell you're just having an absolute blast doing all of this.
Well, this is the part I love. This is the part I love. These social media platforms is like it sucks my soul, right? It sucks the life out of my soul there. But then I found YouTube and how you can almost like a podcast, right? You can spend a lengthy amount of time. So what I'm doing a fantastic series on YouTube called An Author's Dream because it is my dream just to sit here and talk, right? So I'm actually reading every single chapter in this book. And every new episode is a new chapter. So you hear it from my voice, how it affects me. And then I go behind the scenes. And I talk about each one of the lines and like the Easter eggs and the seeds that I'm planting and how it's going to come back later on.
Hmm.
And you get the in depths of like what was taken out of the first draft and that I can refer to. And then I share my true family pictures of my treasure hunting family, the wedding photos of my great grandfather Robert Patrick Kennedy and my great grandmother at the hacienda, all the true photos of Kat and Robbie. I share the true history behind what's in here in the books. So it's a
Wow.
fantastic series. I love it. That's where my heart is. The podcasts are where my heart is. So this is where I think my calling is coming in through.
I love that. All right, wonderful. Before I hit you with the last question, I do want to make sure we get all your contact information out there to everybody. So, how can people reach you? Best way to contact Bridget, find out more about the book that's out already and the ones that are coming. Give it to everybody.
Of course, my personal website, Brigid Kennedy Books, and
Mhm.
you everywhere is Brigid Kennedy Books. All the socials, the handles, and the YouTube. And on my website, you can purchase all the books. But I want to let y'all know because I am a professional musician, violinist, that I did the audiobook for it, and I wrote my own theme music and soundtrack that is being played, and it's like a cinematic experience. So I do highly, if you like, I love listening to audiobooks and reading it at the same time because it's like a fully immersive experience. So if you like an awesome audiobook, I would check that out. You can get it right off my website. And then of course find me on YouTube. Because all those stories, you get all the behind the scenes and everything for this entire book.
Wonderful, wonderful. You've had to um, learn a ton because you came into this, completely cold. You were told by your grandmother to do this. You were obedient. You said, "Hey, here we go." You took up that sword and that charge and said, "Here we go into the fray." Right? Um, you've learned so much. So my final question that I love to ask people, we have so many aspiring authors that listen to this program. My question is always for them. I want to encourage everyone to become a published author like you have. So again, congratulations. What is your best piece of advice for aspiring authors out there who are simply not quite where you are yet?
Find your joy, find your happiness. There are many paths to publishing and getting your story out in the world. And once you find what makes your heart sing and to stay in that pocket there and go with that because that could be a calling on its own. That could be the fates guiding you to your own path. Um, and and keep those negative thoughts out of your mind. Learn to do it with those thoughts, right? You can shove down that negative energy, lock it away, as far, but it's never going to disappear. That imposter syndrome, those fears that you have, but learn to write through it. Learn to keep marketing through it. Learn to believe in yourself through it. That's so critical. And this literary world, the publishing world is so hard, and there is so little feedback besides just no, it wasn't the right fit or something.
Yeah.
Um, Keep looking for the next opportunity, keep pushing yourself forward, but you can only do that if it makes you happy. So find what brings you joy in it and take that path.
I love that advice. That is incredibly practical and also very inspirational. So thank you for sharing that with everybody today. Um, well, author of Lost, The Lost City of Incan Gold, plus a whole bunch of other ones that are on their way, folks. Brigid Kennedy. Brigid, thank you so much for sharing your story behind your story behind your story, what it all meant to you and why you've done what you've done. It's been unbelievable listening to this, and you've been fantastic. And thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been truly an honor and a podcast worth waiting for.
Oh, thank you so very much. I appreciate it. All right, folks, that's been another absolutely fantastic episode of the Right Path podcast, where the truth still matters and words still have power. This is the place, folks, for authors who know that every single page is a step forward towards finding your right path. Until next time.